He's
He
unstable.
Unstable.
He is unstable, Brett.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable.
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished? I understand.
And Donald Trump
But
is,
you talked about it.
And Donald Trump
After George Clooney said within a few minutes of talking to President Biden at a fundraiser that he thought this was not the same Joe Biden that we saw on the debate stage.
Donald Trump is on the ballot.
I understand. You met with him at least once a week for 3.5 years. You didn't have any concerns?
Guys, last night the political collapse of Kamala Harris might have been complete. Never in my life did I ever think I'd watch someone just fall on the spear. And never at any point in my life did I think I would see Fox News go after Kamala Harris. And it's not even really that Brett Baier really went after Kamala Harris. He asked so many just basic questions. And she completely fell on her face. And I don't think the Bluetooth earrings were in play, or they short-circuited. I think Kamala short-circuited. But she fell apart on live TV and what many say is the worst 26 minutes of television that anyone could ever watch. I'm down in Little Rock right now, so I'm doing some training for my full-time gig. But I went back to my hotel room and I watched this. A friend of mine called me and he said, Ben, you've got to watch this. And I was like, is it that good? And I was thinking that immediately Brett Baier had done something for the campaign. But Kamala Harris thought she was ready for Brett Baier, and she was wrong. And two moments in particular were especially humiliating. And here's how it all went down. And I'm going to play multiple clips during this video, and we're going to talk about this. But the first clip, and the conversation quickly went off the rails with Kamala Harris dodged Brett Baier's question on the illegal immigration while simultaneously saying, let's get to the point, which doesn't make sense to me. And you've never seen anything like this happen with any other candidates. It's so unusual.
How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but
right
do you,
now,
just a number. Do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Brett, let's just get to the point. Okay, the point is that we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
So your Homeland Security Secretary said that 85% of apprehensions.
I'm not finished. We have
it's a rough estimate of 6 million people have been released into the country. And let me just finish. I'll get to the question. I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
And when you came into office, your administration immediately reversed a number of Trump border policies. Most significantly, the policy that required illegal immigrants to be detained through deportation, either in the U.S. or in Mexico.
I don't know how anyone can explain this. Now, during the same time frame, Donald Trump was recording a podcast with Patrick Bet-David, and that'll come out tomorrow, almost to counterattack what Kamala Harris has done.
During that time, you said repeatedly that the border was secure. When in your mind did it start becoming a crisis?
I think we've had a broken immigration system transcending, by the way, Donald Trump's administration even before. Let's all be honest about that. I have no pride in saying that this is a perfect immigration system. I've been clear, I think we all are, that it needs to be fixed. We need more. I was just down at the border talking with border agents, and they will tell you, and I'm sure you probably, I know you investigate and you are a serious journalist. They need more resources, and Congress ultimately is the only place that's going to get fixed, Brett. Well, that's how this system works.
That's the premise of this question. There were 90-plus executive orders that were rescinded in the first days. Many of those were Trump border policies. I'm not going to stay here because there's other things to talk about, but you frequently talked to the Border Patrol Union for support of that bipartisan bill, and they did. They supported it. But they also just endorsed Donald Trump and said, you've been, quote, a failure with border security.
There you go. What do you think about that? The full interview is 26 minutes. And for all of you locals people, I have something very special that I'm going to put at the end of this. YouTube won't allow it. You'll have to go over to locals to catch the full thing. And I urge all of you to do that. It'll, help the channel. The next question involved Kamala Harris slurring her words, saying no future HURM, H-U-R-M, would occur, while at the same time blaming Donald Trump for the loss of life for the 3 young ladies, even though Donald Trump wasn't in office. There you go. And Brett Baier just kept his foot on her neck, foot on the gas, whatever you want to call it, and would not let her spin this into Donald Trump being in charge of the border during this time frame. It was completely Kamala Harris. Right after that part, Kamala Harris flipped the script, or she tried to flip the script from the border being secure to the border being insecure for a long time. And it started with Trump. And Baier reminded her there were 90 plus executive orders that were rescinded in the very first day, multiple hours after Joe Biden took office. Many of you are going to grab this moment as the most excruciating 30 seconds during the entire interview. And Brett Baier played a campaign ad for Donald Trump, using Kamala Harris's own words against her. And I never thought I would see something like this on Fox News. I am completely blown away that Fox News allowed this to happen, or that they had this planned, because this is planned. When you have producers ready with clips, it's all planned. This was a complete, Democrat Party's going to say it's an ambush. They're going to say Brett Baier's a race car driver, whatever. Brett Baier is milquetoast at best. Can you imagine what Kamala Harris would be like with a real conservative interviewer? Because Brett Baier is middle of the road. We all know this. I mean, I think Kamala Harris was expecting something like Neil Cavuto, and Brett Baier is Neil Cavuto light. But right now, do you see a need for Donald Trump to do another debate 20 days out? I don't see it. All I see is Donald Trump needing to remain safe and secure and continuing to do what he's doing. He went on to the Harris Faulkner show and did a town hall with nothing but women. And there was one lady that had 2 kids, single mom, and she almost started crying. She was so nervous, and Donald Trump complimented her, saying she had a nice voice to try to take the edge off. And then she completed her question, completed her thought about how much she's struggling. And I don't think Kamala Harris would do the same. Now, she's going to unburden you by what's been, which is your wallet. What is Kamala Harris going to do for the economy? I would love to know. And Brett Baier wanted to know. And he just asked her a simple question. What are you going to do for the economy? And she failed. She failed miserably with this. She's provided 0 details on what her plan actually entails.
My plans for our economy would strengthen our economy. His would make them weaker.
Why do you
would
think more
ignite
people
inflation and invite a recession by the middle of next year? Those are the facts.
Why do you think more people say they trust him on the economy than they trust you?
I think that when you look at an analysis of our plans for what we would do as President of the United States, it has been clear to those who study and understand how economic policy works that moving forward, because I do believe the American people are ready to turn the page on the divisiveness and the type of rhetoric that has come out of Donald Trump. People are ready to chart a new way forward, and they want a president who has a plan for the future and a plan that is sound and will strengthen our country. My plan for the economy does exactly that. His plan would be, again, to give tax cuts to billionaires and the biggest corporations in our country and blow up our deficit.
I just don't think it can get any worse, but it does. It really gets worse. And the most painful moment of the night occurred when Kamala Harris crumbled for 2 minutes straight on a question about why Americans are unhappy with the direction the country is in. And Brett Baier brought up a poll that showed 79% of Americans don't think there's a good a good way forward under the Kamala campaign, and that they are worse off now than what they have been under Donald Trump. It's the worst moment of the night. And she had a hung bit. She just absolutely stumbled and stuttered and splattered onto the wall like a watermelon getting thrown out of a window on the interstate. I mean, that's what it was. It was pitiful to watch. It was an absolute train wreck. If you're a Democrat watching this, I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry. I would seek help immediately because you know what's coming. You know what is coming. And Fox News, you're complicit. You're complicit with getting Joe Biden elected. And now, look what you have done. Locals, people, I'm going to cut this YouTube video here. And if you want to watch the rest of this, head over to Locals. Okay?